快点火了，点火了，点火了！哇，火箭发射，停停！看录下屏，哇，发射了，飞了！哇！飞了，飞了！火箭发射，哇，这声音大！
我说的。
Shalom, all praise goes to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Dash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Salutations to Akhmate pushing this word in all sincerity and honesty, the whole full elect, and the brother Korah Allen through the spirit. This lesson, I hope this lesson is edifying. All right, it says China's artificial sun is now hot enough for nuclear fusion. It's a hot one. Things are heating up in China. On Tuesday, a team from China's Hefei Institute of Physical Science announced that its experimental advanced superconducting Tokamak East reactor, an artificial sun designed to replicate the process our natural sun uses to generate energy, just hit a new temperature milestone, 100 million degrees Celsius, 100 million degrees Fahrenheit. For comparison, the core of our real sun only reacts about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, meaning the East reactor was briefly more than 6 times hotter than the closest star. All right? When two hydrogen nuclei combine, they produce an enormous amount of energy. That process, known as nuclear fusion, is how our sun generates high light and heat, and it's the great white whale of the energy world. If we could find a way to harness it, we'd have a near limitless source of clean energy. So China, all right, according to scriptures, China is Moab. All right, it's looking for a way to harness the power of the sun on Earth to use it for clean energy. All right, and so is Esau. All right, the so-called white man who's in rulership. Okay, because China believes they're next up in rulership. All right, Russia believes they're next up in rulership. Okay, and Esau believes that he could bring in his new world order. He could stay in power. Okay. Now, this is a sign that China is also gunning for that power seat because it's giving off, it's showing you those wonders. All right. And when you go back into Revelations, matter of fact, so I said it, you go back into Revelations, I'm going straight to the point. 13 and 13. All right, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And that's those great wonders is going into what America did in the time of Hiroshima. We did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, when he dropped those atomic bombs. Okay, which those bombs also used nuclear fusion. All right. And they totally destroyed that place. But when they did that, that was a milestone, and that's certified, that basically made them well known on Earth, or feared on Earth. All right, and known as a superpower. Okay. So that was a great wonder that they've done. Now that technology, that nuclear technology, is even more advanced, but they don't hold they're not the only ones that hold that technology anymore. Okay, you have these nations that have the nuclear bombs, and they're way more advanced. They're way more advanced than America, with their nuclear technology, like the Russians and the Chinese. Okay. But here it is, you have these different nations looking to surpass the so-called white man on different levels. like you just saw, for example, with China, with their with uh with the with their sun and the energy that they're using from the sun. Okay, so you see that technology is coming to pass, meaning what? They want to be next in rulership. Okay, so Psalm 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Right. We think all these people all different nations are are advancing their nuclear weapons because they want to go to war, all right, and they want to be next in rulership. Now, no one really wants to use that nuclear technology because that's gonna set people back. All right, that's gonna set people back. You know, but if it comes to it, they have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. That's why they have those underground bunkers, those space shuttles, all right, and whatnot, and they have that nuclear technology, making side deals with different nations, okay, because just in case it goes to that extent, they're prepared for that. It says, why do the heathens rage and the people imagine a vain thing? That vain thing is to be next in rulership. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Right, because they know, according to the scriptures, man, the Israelites are already supposed to be next in power. Okay, so they figure, listen, we want to be next in rulership. One thing is for sure, we got to get rid of these guys. Okay, and that's why they have the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans on the bottom. Okay, slaves. All right, docile. Okay, we don't know our true nationality. We don't know the name of the Lord, because if we did, there'll be an uprising. Okay, because knowledge, right? What they say, knowledge is power. You know. It says he sitteth in the. It says he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Yeah, because here it is. You trying to build up this NWO. All right, you trying to, an artificial sun. You trying to be like the Most High and whatnot, because you want to be next to rulership. But here it is. The Lord's gonna laugh at you. Okay. Let me see. In the word house, as in the word thought. Psalms 49:11, right? It says his inward thought is that their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. And that's Esau, you know. Although he's, even now you see this man's kingdom is crumbling, all right? He still believes or have faith in his system, bringing in that new world order and ruling these different nations. Although these nations are surpassing him on so many different levels, all right? Even the dollar bill has to crumble, but we know that's going to bring in the RFID microchip. But ultimately, this man's dream is going to be short-lived. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names, and they call them their lands after their own names, and they keep their wealth to themselves. All right, they keep their wealth to themselves, or to their families. They don't really share. They don't really share the wealth at all, and they call their lands after their own names. And that's one of the traits of Esau, and that goes back to for example, you could look at that Roman general, Africanus, okay, which when he conquered Cannibal. Hannibal Slaki. He when he defeated Hannibal, he named that land Africa after himself. You know. So that was basically it. All right, China is trying to be the next superpower. All right, but ultimately, the next superpower is going to be Yahweh Shai. You know, because it speaks about that in Second Ezra, I believe the 13th chapter. All right, when these nations start going to war, um, Yahweh Shai will appear out the heavens. Right, real quick. This is Second Ezra 13:1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind, which is a vision by Ezra. It says, lo, arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. Right, and that wind is going into Yahweh Shai, and the sea is going into the heavens. All right, because what is the outer space? That's basically water broken down to a different matter. Okay, it says, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof, and that's the Lord cracking through the heavens. And behold, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, Yahweh Shai. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth failed when it feeleth the fire. Right, and when the Lord turned, and his voice was going into those chariots, man, shooting lasers. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together, and it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heavens, to subdue the men that came out of the sea. Right. Because why? Because these nations are going to fight against Yahweh Shai when he returns. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great multitude, and flew upon it. That's a chariot. But I would have seen the region or place where onto the hills was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. These different nations fighting against Yahweh Shai. Right? Because why? Because they're going to be fighting against themselves for rulership, but then Yahweh Shai is going to crash that party. Okay? It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and of his lips as flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. That's going into a nuclear blast. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and which is basically, you could say, is nuclear energy, or even greater. All right, because ultimately the nuclear energy that Esau figured out all came from Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an enormous multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Now, if you want an example of this, you could ask those neighboring cities of Japan. In Japan, that saw the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Afterward, saw I the same man come down from the mountain and called unto him another peaceable multitude. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound, and other and others some brought them that were offered. That was then was I sick through great fear, and thou awaked and said, Thou hast showed thy servants the wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. All right. So the other multitude that came on, some were glad and some were happy, some were sorry, going into the Israelites. Okay. But yeah, and also it says I think Daniel's 7, just to show, we're actually, all right, 7 and 18, it says, Daniel 7:18, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. And there you go, man. The saints starting with all Israel is saints, but starting with the elect. The elect is going to be delivered from that thermonuclear blast. All right, and from the destruction upon this earth.